I'm sure you heard by now that yesterday there was an assassination attempt on Donald Trump. And we're in a world where there's so much technology and cameras everywhere that every single angle of this fairgrounds were covered with cameras. And because of that, we're getting so many different kind of angles of what happened yesterday. Due to that, there's been a lot of conspiracies and a lot of things going out there, so I figured let's just break down all the footage we have and all the information we have. And there is still a lot of information that has not been released yet, but let's start from the beginning and then kind of go through the footage. First and foremost, Donald Trump had a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, usually a very quiet area of Pennsylvania. It was about 50,000 people who attended this rally, and it was at the Butler Farm Showgrounds, which is a regular, just regular grounds. Usually when you have any kind of event, especially as the former president comes in, there's a lot of Secret Service. There's a lot of detail that come out that do a whole sweep of the area. They look at different, like, hey, someone could be here, someone could do this, and they kind of neutralize that, either by closing off that section, making sure no one can go in that way, and then they also have snipers and things in the area. I know this because I had to cover one of his rallies when he came down to Wildwood, New Jersey, and so I got to go the day before. We got to see how they did some stuff, and it was kind of interesting on how they did it. I find the whole thing fascinating since every president, after you become president and you're a former, gets Secret Service. And so you have to meet with Secret Service. Your equipment gets scanned. There's a lot that goes into it. And every person who had to go to the rally had to go through a metal detector, etc. And so what happened yesterday was a complete surprise to people, especially because you don't expect that at a rally, any rally to begin with. And so as we're finding out throughout the day and information was released, there was a gentleman, his name was Matthew Thomas Crooks. He was outside of the fairgrounds, as the FBI is calling it, in an elevated position, roughly about 400 to 500 feet away. Somehow he gained access to a ladder that was attached to a building, and he climbed to the top. He had a weapon with him. They haven't released technically which weapon it was, and he was able to fire one round into Donald Trump's area. As that round went off, FBI did respond back. There were snipers behind him, and so the FBI neutralized him before he can pull off another round. But in that time, he hit Donald Trump in the top part of his right ear. He shot into the audience, which caused one person to be shot and killed right then and there, and two other people were injured. Now, that's what we were told. If you start looking at the photos and videos, obviously we're going to get a lot more information from that because you can see it in real time, but it definitely opened up a lot of other questions. But first, let's go ahead and kind of break down a little map showing you where Matthew Crooks was. So looking at what we have in front of us, you can see in the very middle, that red square with a circle, that is Donald Trump. If you look just over the left-hand side, that roof, the only white roof behind him, that is where the FBI was with their snipers. And then on the far left, that looks like a parking lot, but it really is a building. That is where Crooks was. Next to that, you can see a little white kind of roof. That is where he supposedly climbed a ladder to get onto that building. So there you can understand the area that this took place in. It was outside of the rally area. I'm honestly still surprised that the FBI didn't close off that whole section over there so no one could get over there. Then again, we don't really know. So let's go ahead and kind of run into the tape that we've been seeing. The first one is just the moments leading up to it. So let's watch that real quick.
We see something that said, take a look at what happened. Oh.
Now that's the footage we've all seen, and that's the footage that's going to be in the history books or in the videos that we're going to see for many generations to come. You're going to see assassination attempts, Ronald Reagan, and then that video. And then we need to go ahead and watch another angle of this because there had been other people who were able to stand on a certain angle where they had Donald Trump in their view, but the snipers are behind them. So you're able to see the snipers kind of react while also listening to the gunfire as it goes off. So take a look at this video real quick.
And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Okay, I know you have a lot of questions. From that video, it almost looks like the FBI saw that guy jump up on the roof. They were questioning what was going on there. They put him in his sights, just be like, hey, something doesn't look right here. Let's get it together. And then as soon as they heard the shots, they already had him in his sights and they just went ahead and took him out. That's what it looks like there. This video is where a lot of the conspiracies are going on, because they're saying that the FBI shot at him first before he got the rounds off and all these other things. And I mean, we can watch the video again. You tell me what you think in the comment section below. I'm not going to speculate because we really don't know all of the information just yet. So let's watch the video one more time and I'll zoom in on the FBI agent.
And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
So yeah, you had two different FBI agents up there, Secret Service, both with snipers. They both obviously were alerted to it. Someone must have called in a security breach and was able to kind of get ahead of it in a way. Unfortunately, it was after he put off the first shots. And a lot of people are saying, well, you know, this guy had been on the roof for quite some time. There was an interview from someone at the BBC that did talk about this, that they were outside and they did see him up there. How come no one stopped it before? And once again, that's a really good question. We don't really have an answer. That's why a full investigation needs to go on. Now, there had been one other video that was uploaded showcasing someone filming in the direction of Crooks, who was already on the roof, which meant this guy had to have been on the roof for quite some time before that, because people already had noticed that this person was up there. And this is that footage that we're seeing.
Somebody go shot. He's right there. Oh no.
And yes, it's really not a good video, but you can see sort of the before and then the after. So the person who clearly was filming this kind of knew something didn't look right. Like the guy didn't look like FBI, and so he turned around, which kind of leads us back to the guy who was interviewed on BBC, who was just like, yeah, we were out and about and we saw him up there. So there was definitely some kind of miscommunication with the FBI. And that's one of the things that are going to be definitely investigated as things go on. You know, there was a news conference earlier, and the FBI special agent in charge of this did put a thing out saying that it was surprising the gunman was able to fire multiple shots during the rally for Donald Trump, saying that, quote, "We're still working through the security apparatus that the Secret Service had in place and what potentially happened." Because, I mean, clearly there was a bigger problem here that we really don't truly know of yet. He continued by saying, "There's going to be a long investigation into exactly what took place and how the individual was able to gain access to the location, what type of weapon he had. All of that is really days, weeks, and months of investigations." Now, I know there's been a lot of rumors. Well, this guy was a part of Antifa, or this guy was a part of that. We don't know anything about this guy at this time, except for he's 20 years old. He's from a city right nearby, which I believe was Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, a quiet town. He was registered as a Republican, although I think in the past he did donate to one Democratic party. But that's all we know about him at this time. There's just a lot of speculation online about him. And so right now we're going to let the FBI do their thing and hopefully release more information as the days go on. Due to this, though, security for every single political figure out there has gone up, because they're wary that this is not an isolated thing, and they're just trying to play it safe for this time because they really don't know what's going to happen. Donald Trump did luckily get through it safely. A little injury to his ear, and that's where we're at this very moment. Things and information kind of slowed down a little bit, since now the FBI needs to truly kind of go through and figure out what exactly went wrong here. A lot of people are going to point to the Secret Service and say that they messed up. And we don't know. I mean, it feels like they should have seen the gentleman there. I mean, clearly they had him in their sights. So not really quite sure what happened. We really need to wait for the investigation to happen. And once that comes through, we can finally get the answers, because this should never happen again for anyone. And regardless if you're Democrat or Republican, if this had gone one way or the other, we'd be having a really tough conversation. So, thank goodness they were able to take the guy out before anyone else can get injured or killed. I feel so sorry to the gentleman who was taken out during this and the people who were injured. Everyone comes together for these rallies, regardless of which rally you go to, all for the love of America. So it's really upsetting when something like this happens. But as soon as we get any updates on the story, I'll be sure to update you guys on TikTok, on my TikTok channel. So be sure to follow me on there and follow me here on YouTube. But I want to thank you for joining me. Please stay safe.